You will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
Episode of Leadership Live right here on the Los Angeles Tribune, and I'm here alongside my wonderful co-host Julianne, and we're going to have a powerful episode for this rendition, Julie, because we have compiled a group of thought leaders from across the country that are going to delve in for the next hour and have a powerful roundtable conversation on principles of leadership, self-reliance, and what it means to be a leader, not just in life, but also in business. So before we roll in and bring in the group, how excited are you, Julianne?
I'm really excited. Whenever we can speak about leadership, it really takes everyone to this next level and explains things a little bit better so that people can take that next leadership role in their own lives. So yay!
Well, I'm excited. And with that being said, let's go ahead and roll in this week's incredible group of leaders that we have assembled from across the nation to discuss principles that will help our global audience lead their life and lead their business. And let's kick it off with Michael Silvers, who's also going to help co-moderate this program. Michael, how excited are you to spend time with some of the folks you see here on the screen?
You know, it's great to be here because it's always these type of calls that help us go from where we're at to move forward. The other thing, too, is, Mo, what a service you're doing for the world worldwide, because people can listen to this wherever they are in the world. Yes, we know they have to have internet or they have to have cellular, but so many people do now. So many people will take one phone into their village, will take one phone wherever they are, and we're always serving and always moving forward. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you for that, Michael Silvers. And before we start the roundtable conversation, I want to also have Ava Manuel, the senior editor of the Los Angeles Tribune newspaper, a chance to chime in. Ava, I know that you've also been working very hard behind the scenes with regard to the next issue of the Los Angeles Tribune Special Thought Leadership newspaper that's available in the United States as well as Canada, features a front page story that highlights women in leadership. So please give a little sample of that as well, Ava. We're very proud of the Tribune to highlight women in leadership, historical women, and just sample a little bit about that, as well as how excited you are for this week's program. Ava, please.
Thank you so much, Mo. I am so thrilled. I could not tell you how honored I am to be the senior editor of the Los Angeles Tribune Special Thought Leader Edition, and the one that we've got coming up actually the end of this week. So watch out for it. You know, subscribe to LATribuneSpecialEdition.com. Is going to be highlighting women in leadership, and we have gathered the timeline of women's rights movement and where we are right now in this quest of elevating women and equality. So I am just so thrilled, and we've got a lot of writers, women writers, who have contributed, uplifting, inspiring, educating. So look out for that. Thank you so much, Mo.
Thank you, Ava. And with that being said, let's kick it off by starting with the first question for the folks here. We want you to share with our audience, just to start off, what is it about your work? What is it about the career choice that you've made in life that has made you feel so inspired? Share perhaps an anecdote or something that you've done professionally that has made you feel at 100%. You know, a lot of times people wake up and they have a tough time getting out of bed, but we've all experienced those moments where we feel like our energy is at 100% when we're really in the zone. So I want to kick it off with a special guest, Mr. Joe Nas, a very prominent attorney here in Southern California. Pleasure to have you here as part of our program, sir. I'd like to kick it off with you, please, Joe.
Good morning, Mo. It's a pleasure to be on this program. Thank you so much for having me. So for myself, I'm a personal injury attorney. And what really gets me up in the morning is, in my job, I see a lot of adversity. I see everything from death to paralyzation to people not able to make it through the day because of the injuries that they've been through. So what really gets me up in the morning is when I see these individuals that have been through such difficult times, some people that have literally lost body parts, some people that are paralyzed from the chest down. And even though they've been through this extreme adversity and been through the most trying of situations, they still get up every day. They fight to recover and they fight to get back on track to their healing. And the least that I can do in my profession is wake up every day, motivated and excited, and try to help them heal, whether it's financially, physically, or emotionally throughout the process. And so I get fired up by these individuals that have struggled so much. They get me inspired so that I can get up every day and fight for them.
Thank you for that, Joe. And, I want to just stay on par course because there's two folks here that have passed the bar in California. So I think it's appropriate to go from Joe to Saji right under you. Saji is, of course, CEO of U.S. Business Council. He also happens to be general counsel for the Los Angeles Tribune, and his organization does all of the legal matters for the LA Tribune. So Saji, I'm curious, you and I, we know each other very well, but for the audience that may not hear all the stories that I hear, what is something about your line of work and Joe's line of work, the two of you happen to have some similar paths here, that has inspired and fired you up, please?
Actually, the way you frame that probably is an answer in itself. Joe is a remarkable attorney. And the thing about it is Joe and I know each other, and we have in our own parallel paths grown our respective firms and our industries, and it's been inspiring. So I think the two things are, for me, the fire comes from colleagues like Joe, having that sort of parallel growth challenge, talking, calibrating, and then resetting and doing it in a way that makes sense to each of us. That inspires me. And Joe, speaks volumes for his reputation, what he's doing. For the other part is honestly my clients. People think of businesses as structures and entities. It's a cold kind of relationship. That's business. It's if you believe what the media says, it's just this thing that's amorphous and it's out there, and it's us versus them. I see business as a collective. It's a collective of people, and they truly are. My clients are, I say, ambitious, all in, and they want to do it right. And that really, really inspires me, because it's all about mindset. Whether you're in law, whether you're in publication, whether you're in media, whatever your chosen industry and this particular stage and phase of your life, those are the calibrations that I look for, and I think that inspire all of us. So I find inspiration within my industry, within my clients, and their particular industries too. And there's a common sort of calibration and an alignment that happens, and we grow together. And so that's the fire for me.
Well, I actually didn't know you knew Joe, Saji. How funny is that? Small world here. So I want to go to Silva. Silva, I know that you have a background in journalism, and that broadcasts like this are nothing new to you. You were a famous international news anchor, and now you've done a great job of helping others with where they're at in their career. I'm curious, what fires you up, and what does leadership mean to you? Silva, please.
I love that. As a journalist, I should know to turn my ringer off before I get on a broadcast. A nice big faux pas right there. Thank you for that introduction. You know what? I've had to ask this question not only personally, but also with a lot of my clients. And we don't realize how often we need to ask this question as we're building our careers, as we're moving along in our lives, because I think so many of us go through transition and iteration of what we're doing, right? Where we started and what we thought we wanted to do as we get more entrenched in our lives and our careers changes over time. So I'm constantly asking this question is, what is my why? And every single time and every single sort of iteration of my career or transition has been different, but there is a common thread, and the common thread among all of the changes that I personally have been through is the ability to help people feel like they're being seen. In my world, where I talk about messaging, I talk about storytelling, I talk the importance of context when presenting facts. This is also not just true in journalism. I have come to find and realize and rediscover the importance of it when it comes to marketing, when it comes to marketing your business or building a message around your business is understanding context and feeling like not only are you being seen, but also the people that you are serving are being seen. And I think our two previous people that I heard speak really emphasize that, is that they talked about their clients and the importance of their clients, and that's their why. And the importance of really staying rooted in that and centered in that when you are thinking about or being challenged in your leadership within your organization or within what it is that you want to do. We all sort of are always thrown curveballs, and remembering why you do what you do, I think that in itself is a form of leadership, and being able to really stay focused on that and not get distracted. And especially in this world of lots of noise and social media, the shiny object syndrome is real. I don't know how many of you experience that, but that is real. And I fight with my clients about that all the time. You right? I fight with them all the time because they see something online and they're like, oh, we want to do this, but that's not right for you. That takes you off course from what your why is, what you need to be focused on. So understanding that and reevaluating that consistently and making sure that you are up to date and aligned with what you're doing and how you're serving is incredibly important. One of the most important leadership skills that we need to have about ourselves in order for everything else to align.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Silva. What a wonderful expression. We can all relate to the shiny object. But Vanessa Raymond, you actually are a shiny object and you teach people how to shine. I would love for you to share your perspective.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Julianne. You're so sweet. I really feel, and I really resonated with what Silva said. You know, we all go through so many iterations of life. We all have had multiple lifetimes, I think, and multiple careers, and we all come to a point where it all comes together for us and we bring it all together in what our craft or our message is right now. As leaders, I feel it's so important we live by example. And we don't dictate, right? We live by example so that people can follow our example. And for me too, the thing that fires me up most is watching those who I am assisting and helping and serving flourish, watching them grow. That fires my soul every day to keep doing more and more and keep going. And of course, we all have to be in touch with our personal goals, our personal whys, that big why. Why are we doing what we're doing? And I think for a lot of us, it is family. But when it comes to leadership, it is really understanding your audience, living by example, and sharing. We have to delegate, and we have to, and people like to be led. People want to be led, but to lead in a way that is not, like I said, dictating, but being the example and getting others to follow you in that way.
Incredible. And I want to welcome all of the folks in the virtual auditorium that are leaving comments, as well as all of the folks that are watching this after the fact on our Roku television network that is available worldwide. And we want to thank all of the folks that have added the Los Angeles Tribune TV network to their television. And so I know there have been some folks that have been patiently waiting to chime in here. I see NCAA champion Parisa Rose here. We're going to get to you in a second because I'm curious what your thoughts are. But Percy Scott is somebody who I recently met. And, you know, sometimes in life, you know that someone is a leader just based on the presence that they have in a room. Right? The magnetic quality that certain people carry that you simply cannot teach. You can't really, have someone, you can't really share that X factor with another person. And Percy Scott is somebody that has that characteristic. You know, I had a chance to meet him in Chicago last week. And I have to say, Percy, I think that, you certainly have that magnetism. So let's talk a little bit about that aspect, because I think you're qualified to speak on that subject matter. How do leaders carry themselves, Percy? How important is it to make a strong first impression in life, in business? Please, floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Mo, for that. I truly believe that for a leader, you never get a chance, as they always say, to have a first impression. And so as a leader, you never know who's going to be in the room. And so I always teach my staff, I teach my family to treat the waiter as great as you treat the owner of the business, because you just never know who's who. And so I treat everyone the same way that I want to be treated. And with the business owners that I work with, it's the same. I treat my customers' business as if it's my business. And so to be a leader, I think you have to do it by example. And I try to be the best example that I possibly can every day. And I try to motivate other people to be that example every day. But this crazy world that we have going on these days, I think you have to look at it as a community and not just a lot of it as individuals. And so I try to work in the community. I volunteer, I give back, and I try to put positive messages out in the atmosphere, as opposed to always, we in the media, there's people love dirt and they love, negativity. And so I try to be that opposite and give blessings messages and positive messages. I think real leaders, good leaders, have to be able to motivate, not only by what they say, but by what they do.
And one thing you did, Percy, because we met you at a Power Team event with Bill Walsh, and you stepped onto that stage and you weren't expecting to. And you stepped on the stage, and the thing you did is you talked less about yourself, and you did what you just did. You talked about how you're going to make a change. And I think as a leader, that really puts you first and foremost out there and drives that message forward. And I just want to appreciate everything you did there and how you had others around you, and you were always letting them go first, whatever it took to be, I'm here to support, I'm here to help, but it's not about me. And I just congratulate you on that.
I thank you for that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, Percy.
I've always been that way. I think that it's important. A lot of times, it's all about me, but in the industry that I'm in and in the world, most people we know care about themselves more than anyone else. And so I just want, other people to shine, because I feel like I'm comfortable in my own skin. I do well. I think God is always going to bless me. And so I just want other people to do well. And I always want to give people that opportunity to raise the level of awareness for what they're doing. And I think it's been great for me ever since I started doing it.
Incredible, Percy. And, you mentioned the media and how sometimes folks may consume the media and feel disempowered. I have people coming up to myself and my team all the time and saying, Mo, when I read the Los Angeles Tribune, I feel empowered when I'm finished reading it. Whereas when I read other news publications, I feel disempowered. There are folks that come up to me and say, Mo, usually, I stopped reading the newspapers. I stopped watching the news because it would give me a sense of being paralyzed almost with regard to taking action in life, because it's doom and gloom. And if it bleeds, it leads. But I want to thank you, Percy, for being an example of why we do what we do, to edify and position folks that have an empowering message as opposed to a disempowering message. So I want to go to NCAA champion Parisa Rose, who's also a contributor for the Los Angeles Tribune. You've been listening, and I know the audience is waiting patiently to hear from Lynette and Sean coming up shortly after. But Parisa, where are you with regard to this conversation and the power of heart-driven leadership, please?
Well, thank you, Mo, and it's good to see everyone here. Some familiar faces and some new ones as well. And it's good to see and have everyone here on with us. There's one thing that I'd like to contribute to this. And this is something you mentioned about the paper, Mo, and like just empowering media, empowering news. And that is, I feel as a leader, if you can genuinely walk forward, valuing the reps that you take every day. And I say this as an athlete, and I say this as a human outside of the athlete. And I say this as a very, very, very retired athlete, not in that practice anymore. But the one practice I have taken with me is valuing my reps. If it's down to how many ounces of water I drink a day, I value that rep of drinking quality water. If it's valuing keeping a tidy room, making my bed when I wake up, making sure I keep my calendar nice and tidy and clean, and I follow up with emails or text messages, whatever it may be. Valuing my reps has been huge, because people value when they value you as a leader when you value yourself and you value what you do. It could be something so simple as just cleaning off a table. But if you value what you're doing, people notice that. And it's a lot easier to follow you because they see that you care what you're actually doing. You care about your space, you care about yourself, and people will follow naturally. People will follow the lead of and find integrity in when people value what they're doing.
That's a great, Parisa, and by the way, hello there. And thank you for the chat on the 4th. But
Yeah.
That's a great piece because it is about empowering yourself. And because I've had a lot of swimmers around me and competitive swimmers. And I have to say, there's sports as tough as it is, but the habits that you create to get into that very cold pool, right? To get the muscles going, right now you're having the trauma again. That took tremendous discipline. That took also yourself. Did you see yourself as a leader at times? Because you have the coach gets the, get in the pool, do this or that. But I've seen swimmers at groups, they swim alone, they do their laps, but at the same time, your thrust is pulling the ones next to you in the water, right? They're riding your line. You're working as a team together. Can you just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I think that swimming is definitely very particular. Okay. And I say that because it's a sport where you are spending the majority of your time with your face in the water, not talking to anyone but yourself and entertaining your own thoughts. So if you gain a very quality conversation with yourself and a very healthy conversation with yourself, then it's really helpful. And you realize that you're in the pool next to a bunch of people that are also doing the exact same thing. We're all having our own conversations next to each other, but silently. It sounds odd and in a very competitive way, but you realize that I'm not just leading myself. That person's not just leading themselves. Us collectively, we are leading each other. And if we see one person struggling, it does impact the rest. So I think naturally when you see one person leading themselves really well, the next person starts to lead themselves really well. And it's just a domino effect.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. It's great to have you on here. I'm about to just have somebody else bring them up for a second. It is about that leadership. It's moving forward. It is getting to the other side of the pool, but it's all the things it takes to get there. Because, when you do 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 laps, right? There's not every moment is happiness, right? Not every moment is, oh, I'm just having such a great time. But it's still getting to the end and taking others with you. And I think that's great. So thank you so much for being on, and we'll come back to you. The next gentleman that I just want to introduce quickly, Sean Lazan, he's been a platinum partner with Tony. He traveled the world. The poor gentleman got stuck in Thailand during COVID and just had to hang out on the beaches. But he's really lived a life of being of service. I know. And he's always been of service. When he came, we found him at the Mentor Studio. That's how I'm going to say it for now, and Sean. But it was right away. He was like, how can I help? How can I be of assistance? What can I do? How can I make things better? And Sean, just talk about that drive of leadership in yourself and how you perceive it.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I love the conversation about talking about what it means to be a leader, because I think about it like, how do I show up as a leader? And I don't know that I feel internally like I show up as a leader. Like, what does it mean to be a leader? And it's this leadership to me sometimes feels like pattern, like inspiring other people. And there's work to do to inspire other people. There's work to do to be that person up there. And what I realize that I am a leader, and I'm a leader just by knowing who I am and being myself. And being myself and listening to other people. And myself right now is really connecting with other people, enjoying connecting and being curious about other people. And the more I love and appreciate myself, I love, Silva, what you were saying is about we want to be seen. Like, I want to see myself just as being really being who I am, being authentic with myself, and helping other people to be authentic with themselves. And when they're authentic with themselves, they're seen, and not seen as hey, I'm being seen right now as a person on this beautiful LA Times, LA Tribune conversation. It's about being seen as my authentic self, mine with my challenges, my struggles, my getting up in the morning and perhaps not feeling very motivated, and then talking with people and then be like, wow, I am motivated. I'm motivated by how I am showing up, and seeing how I show up can inspire other people. So it's really, for me, all about being authentic.
Absolutely, Sean. And, recently we did a virtual summit that reached over 30,000 people from over 20 countries. New York Weekly did an expose on it, calling it one of the best personal development events of the year. And Lynette was one of the speakers of that summit. So I'm very curious, Lynette, thank you for your patience. Last but certainly not least, we want to give you the floor for you to share your thoughts and any mental notes that you've had thus far as we reach the halfway point of this program. Please, Lynette, floor is yours.
Well, again, thank you, Mo, for having me, and thankful to be amongst all you fantastic individuals. And there's just been so much great sharing already that, I'm just going to tag on. For me, being a leader and showing up as leadership, to me, is all about, okay, I'm coming in and I'm there to support my people. I'm there to support the project. I'm there to support the patients all over the world who rely on us being able to deliver a quality product. And so I'm always thinking about, how I'm communicating with my team, so that, and being completely transparent and open, so that they're always able to come to me with anything, and being that support, because a lot of times leadership is about me, what am I going to do to get up, on that ladder? Where am I going to, climb up to next? And I really focus on next generation leadership, because that's really key. And so when I'm developing next gen leaders, I'm going to have all the behaviors that I want them to emulate, so that when they're leading, that they're always continuing this cycle of great leadership. And so it's about creating a positive, inclusive environment, and recognizing the contribution of the people on the front lines. And I think that's what a lot of times as leaders, we don't. We take that contribution and hey, here it is, CEO. Where are you going to send me next? And I'm all about fighting for the crew and ensuring that they are empowered, that they are celebrated, because them doing well makes me do well. And it's that whole synchronicity of it all. So that's how I see leadership. To me, it's all about how I'm bringing that support to people that I lead, to the company, and then externally to customers.
Thank you so much, Lynette. I love this idea of passing along our leadership to the younger generation, because it doesn't just stop with us. And as you mentioned, a lot of leaders think about themselves first, but not this panel. Anyway, I've also heard some words that I really love, like authenticity, transparency, words like that when it comes to leadership. And there's also this component of the reps, like what Parisa mentioned before. How do you show up when you don't feel like it and are still authentic in your journey? Lynette, could you answer that?
Oh, how do I show up? Well, for me, because I've been remote for so long, way before the pandemic, it was always important for me to be the first one at the scene of the crime, so to speak. Always be the first one there to welcome everyone into their day, and to again, because I'm not one of those people who work out in the morning, because I already have a whole lot of high energy. So I don't need those endorphins. I do my workout at the end of the day, and then that's why I dismiss my all of my work from my mind. Is with my workout at the end of the day. But I already have that high energy. But I do a lot of mindfulness. I do a set of push-ups, and and then I do some journaling and listen to music. because there's nothing like a nice get groove that even just increase the energy and just get you into that positive mindset. So I always feel that my energy level and my mood can affect the team. And so I'm always going to make sure that I'm going to present myself the best way. And even if I'm not feeling it, even if I'm like, oh God, they're not listening to me. I'm telling you it's going to take this long, but okay, no problem. I don't want to shift that energy onto my team. So I'm always going to try to ensure that I present myself in a way that's going to help them to also be resilient and also be focused on just managing their emotions so that they can, again, emulate great leadership.
Thank you for that, Lynette. And it's hard to believe we're already at the halfway point, folks. So we're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and we'll be back with the second half of Leadership Live right here on the Los Angeles Tribune TV network.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
Okay, let's see here. And welcome back, folks. And things are rapidly changing in the marketplace. This is something that everyone here knows. This is something that the community knows, whether it's AI, whether it's just the world order that we happen to be in and globalism, or whether it's new apps like Threads that just came out yesterday and is taking the world by storm. Things are constantly changing, and adaptation is perhaps one of the most important qualities for leaders in life and leaders in business to have. So I'm going to step back. Julianne and Michael Silvers will help lead the way for the second half of the program, where everyone here is going to chime in and share with our audience one key principle that they are holding at a very high level for their business for 2023, 2024, and beyond. One key principle in your business that is very important to you right now, given the fact that the market is changing at a Mach 10 speed. So Julianne, take it away.
Thank you so much, Mo. Joe, I'd love to start with you since you have an interesting perspective. I think that we'd like to hear from you first.
So one of my firm's core values is that we embrace change in technology. I'm actually one of the only fully remote law firms that I know. So we have an office, but we don't go into the office. We pretty much only meet for like quarterly and annual meetings. I have employees that are in Atlanta. I have an employee that's in Missouri. I have employees that are in different parts of the state of California. And then, of course, I have a bunch of employees that are down in this part of California. But I really embrace the remote life because I think that honestly, driving to and from work is a waste of time. I think that we can all be just as efficient as long as we have our computer in front of us. And the only thing that I have to be in person for is really trials. Even hearings and other types of meetings are now online. So I think that everybody needs to embrace this new way of life. And, if people like to go to an office, I offer that for my team, and I'm more than willing to have a space for them. But I think that nowadays we have so much technology, we have so much space for growth. And I think that having to go to an office is a thing of the past, and that will change over time. I'm the only one of my friends that I know that is a fully remote law firm, and we've been doing fantastic. We're a 7-figure firm. We do great, and we don't find the need to have to go into an office, and that's been a huge change in my field.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because a lot of the world is trying to go back into the office. So I love the idea of keeping it moving forward instead of trying to go back in time. So thank you so much for that. Percy, I'd love to hear from you. Oh, there he is.
Sure. So our hashtag is we create movements one moment at a time. And the reason it's a key principle for us is because we focus on the moment. A lot of times, as you all know, your life can change in a moment. things can go good, things can go great. But a lot of times we're moving so fast in today's day and age, that we don't take time to appreciate those moments that really matter, those moments with our family, those moments with our colleagues. And so we try to create those movements one moment at a time, encouraging our business owners to appreciate the fact that they're just starting, because when they're a multi-million-dollar company, they're going to be pulled here and there and everywhere. And so just to appreciate the journey, appreciate the path that we've been placed to do. And so our principle is really to appreciate those moments. And again, we create those movements one moment at a time.
I love that too, because it's the one moment at a time, right? Every day we step into something, every day we create something. and again, life goes like this, but it's creating those movements every day. So fantastic. Julie, back to you.
Thank you so much. Let's start. Vanessa Raymond, let's hear from you. I'm curious what is important to you. I know that you have a different perspective and you're very artistic. So I'm curious what technology and what the changes are for you.
Thank you, Julianne. Yes, it certainly has been interesting, and I'll latch on to what Percy said about his tagline. We say we help people who help people, right? And for us, it is about integrity and connection. And I agree with Joe. It's so fantastic that we have the whole globe at our fingertips, and we can reach anywhere and everywhere. The pandemic brought with it a lot of negatives, but to me, there were a lot of positives. And one of the positives for me was also reconnecting with my own passions and the things that I am passionate about, because sometimes we get carried away so much by all the tools, all the connection, all the social media, all the everything, coming back to who you are and who you authentically should be for the people that you are helping. However, the world is moving forward. So with Achieve Systems, it's been interesting because we are a great proponent of human connection. We love our live events. We love getting people in a room and getting them together. And I think it is important that we come back to that, because it's a human need to be connected. But doing this, being able to get on screen with someone is wonderful too. So I think it is really about finding the balance between moving with technology, but also remember the things that ground us and keep us in those real, true connections with human beings face to face. That's been the dichotomy for me.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because I think there's both sides of it. I think people, we were at home and we got used to being at home, and that's after being a road warrior, being on the road 200-300 days a year, just depending on what year it was, and missing that movement together. At the same time, people had this, now I can be at home, I take it a little more casually, what am I wearing a pair of pants, things like that. And I think there's been the shift both ways. But so we've seen, what's really been interesting is in the event industry, we still have the big stadium shows, but there's this comfort level, like around 300 to 500, where I feel really good with a group like that. You start putting 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, unless I'm at a concert. When they go to a concert, they don't care how many people are in. It's the funniest thing. So we're starting to transition and really look at, should we just do the 300 to 400? And I think that's a consciousness. Anybody who's a speaker, trainer, author, start to think of your audience, not about you. What is your audience from their comfort level? The chair's a little bit more separate, but still creating the community feel will make a difference every single day. And that's what being a leader, and that's what you're doing, Vanessa. You guys are leaders stepping ahead, but still realizing what is it that the audience is looking for and what do they want. So Julianne, back to you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yes, Vanessa, mixture of both. That is ultimately important, because it shrinks the world down when we can do things remotely, but also that in touch is very important as well. Parisa, you mentioned about reps. And that is sticking with me so much, because it is so important that we put in the work and the repetition of the day-to-day things. But I'm curious how technology and change has affected reps. Do you incorporate new things into your business, or how does it work for you?
So, okay, loving the connection here with reps. And what I'd like to add to that is, that the way we meet together, so I'm going to connect this, so just hang with me for a second. The way we meet together and the way we gather, it really does matter. So I'm not trying to rhyme on purpose here, but the way we gather matters. So whether we gather in person, the way we gather online, it matters, because we still desire connection. That's been mentioned many times already. We are created and called for connection. We are called to do community together and experiences together. So the way you value your reps, the way you show up to your reps, how you interact through a text message, through an email, through any kind of other exchange on any other messaging platform there may be, the way you do anything, it matters, because the way we are connecting really does genuinely matter. So value how you show up with those reps of connecting, because no matter how much technology is going here or there, and as much as it may feel overwhelming to many, or maybe moving way too fast for many, it still matters the way we connect. Definitely matters.
Thank you so much. I love that idea, and still continuing with the reps. That being said, I'm curious, with change and being a visionary, how do those two things go together? Sean, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I love what the previous people have been talking about. I want to weave those things together with working remotely and connecting. So what I've been really interested in recently is how can we connect better in a remote environment? We see in the past year or two, remote has gone down just slightly. I was just reading a study by the US government in Stanford saying this, but we know it's going to continue. And because people love to work independently, but also there's a lot of studies which show that they're feeling separate, feeling lonely. So I'm like, how can we do this better? I have my own experience working at IBM, and we were working remotely 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I remember. We moved from our offices to having you could show up at an office and you didn't have your own office anymore. So I'm like, how can we do better? And I knew there was a lot of information done. So I wanted to show you guys. I went to the library. I love the library. And I got all of these books on almost working remotely. And you know what? They were almost all written 2021. It's a huge change. It's not going away. So what I want to do as a thought leader is reimagine how we're connecting with people. Reimagine how we can do this remotely. We can be connected in a way and still be authentic, ourselves, and show up.
Beautiful, beautifully said. I love that so much. Who have we not heard from? Our other lawyer. I'm sorry, don't know how to pronounce your name, and I don't want to murder it. So how do you pronounce your name?
You don't want to murder anyone with two lawyers on. That's for sure. Joe will get you for that. So Jindra is just fine, or just the other lawyer is fine too. I actually want to latch on. I mean, everyone, there's, not to get too metaphysical, I don't believe there's any coincidences anymore in life. I also believe that I align with my clients for a reason. They align with me. We're aligned in this conversation for a reason too. That's sort of a grander design. But when I hear all this, well, Sean said earlier on, being seen. And what Pers is talking about too also is about how we connect too, that aspect of different ways that we connect. We're talking focusing a lot on remote, but I was just in Michigan the other day, and like Joe, I work remotely too. My contract attorneys also in different places too. And the benefit of that is also being able to listen and observe. How are people in communities communicating and connecting? The big word, connection. And they do it in a way that is not as, everyone connects differently, and each community connects very differently too. I've been in arenas, Madison Square Garden in New York City. I was in business meetings. I was with family. And every community and culture connects still in a way that they want to be seen and they want to be heard. And yes, I'm a business lawyer, but I keep thinking about the connections between people, because in the end, it's people, groups of people, right? So this term that I use for myself is aspirational connection or aspirational focus. In a way, what that means to me is, what's the aspiration, the inspiration that inspires people to get together, to want to achieve something, and then how do they focus their mindset on that in a way that's congruent with their own value system, and a way that really moves the needle forward. And it sounds more complex than it is, but actually, if you observe children playing in the Midwest, which I got to do, and you observe business people walking through the streets of New York City and attending meetings, as I did too, it's all the same in many ways. If you keep that clarity as far as what your focus is, what your intention is, and how you can relate to the next person next to you about getting there. So I think that a lot of the stress of the pandemic, a lot of the whether to go back to work or not work, I do business law, I do employment law, and the workforce is changing. And it's not just, hey, there's new people coming in, there's millennials. No, people in the end want to be seen and heard. And so to me, that inspires me a lot still today. I think there's a lot of stress and strain because of the environment and a lot of things that are affecting businesses and people and families and lives. But at the same time, what's going well for us is this. Each of us in our own silos is doing, I'm sure, impactful work. But together, even from this, like, it's inspiring and making me feel more aspirational about what I'm doing to my clients too. So I think the whole idea of aspirational leadership and aspirational connection is the root of what inspires me.
Well, and just for the record, the other lawyer is the general counsel for the Los Angeles Tribune and one of our partners. So thank you very much, Saji, for that. Always a pleasure to hear your insights and your philosophy. You and Joe both do a good job of kind of shooting down the stereotypes of attorneys. Both of you are very heart-centered leaders that go above and beyond to make a positive impact for the community. So we want to appreciate the work that both of you do for Southern California. I'm really curious to hear Percy's thoughts again on this subject matter. Percy, you've been a fan favorite in the virtual auditorium. If I don't give you another chance to have some airtime, I'm afraid they might cancel the show. So I just want to make sure that all of your fans are happy in the virtual auditorium. So Percy Scott, please, and then Julie will take it away. Percy.
Wow. So again, thank you, Mo. I appreciate it. And I just want to say that, in today's world, I think the connection, as everyone has been saying, is important. And a lot of times, I think we just need to go back to the way things used to be. We used to sit on the front porch and have conversations with people and, be able to talk about everything. Now everything is so taboo. My mother and father are both blind. And so they couldn't see, but they would tell me amazing stories. And so my mother would be able to, I could picture what my mother was saying by the words that she used. And so I've always thought that everyone should be able to tell their story. Everyone should be able to, share where they come from. And that's truly how we connect. I talk to a lot of people who generalize based off of what they see on TV. And I think the real connection is really when you get to look somebody in the eyes, when you get to have dinner with them, when you get to sit at the park and just say, hey, how you doing? And so that's kind of what we do with our marketing agency. We create those connections literally by having those conversations, by sharing those stories. And so every business, every person has a story. And so how do we get those stories out in the best way? And the LA Tribune is a great way to do that. And I appreciate the stories that you all put out because they are positive stories. There's so many things that are negative in the world. Sometimes we need to have something that's positive. And the LA Tribune, you all are doing an amazing job in doing that. So I want to just thank you all for having me.
Percy, again, it's great to have you on. And it is very much about a family, right? It's about a family and how we come together and how we come together to be of service. And for those of us on here, whatever your background, whatever you do, how many people you've ever been in front of, no matter how big of a show, how little, it's always that service part, and it's bringing leadership forward in a new world. Sanjay was talking about that. Sanjay, it was brilliant what you said, and it's really, we're bringing this all forward in a new way, the way we've never done it before. And I think being part of this too, from the Mentor Studio, myself and my business partner who took Tony Robbins around the world to 82 countries, you're cutting edge here. You're redefining the world the way it can and should be. And that's not telling people what to do, and it will make a difference every day. And thank you all for being on. Back to Mo or Julie.
Thank you, Michael. And we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to chime in, and all of our guests have a chance to chime in here. And I know, Joe, you had something else you wanted to contribute. So please, the floor is yours, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to comment specifically about something that Carissa said when it came to putting in the reps. So I think as leaders, it's so important that we get crystal clear on what we want and why. And when we get crystal clear about what we want and why, that really correlates to our intentions every single day in our life. And so when Carissa was talking about putting in the reps, this is something that I talk about with all my friends. It starts from the moment you wake up. How do you breathe in the morning? Do you meditate? Do you read? Do you take care of yourself? What are you eating? What are you doing every single day? And it's not for your neighbor, for the people around you. What ends up happening when you're a leader is you have this residual effect on everyone around you because they can see that you're putting your true intentions into everything you do from the moment you wake up to the time you go to bed. And so I've been a huge advocate in, I guess the way the person put it would just putting in the reps. Make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do to accomplish your goals, to help those you want to help. And when you're living the highest vibrational version of who you are as a person, it will simply affect the people around you. One of my friends always told me, I used to explain my perspective to everyone around me. And what she said to me is, stop doing that. Just be your perspective. If you are the example to those around you, then the people around you will simply see what it looks like to be someone who is a leader, to be someone who is doing good in the community, someone who is trying to help those around them. And that is going to be the greatest effect you can have on everyone around you. And I also just wanted to talk about Saji real quick. So Saji and I are actually in a networking group together. And it's so funny. We're talking about two different types of connections. I didn't know he was going to be on this today. I didn't even know that he was a part of this today. So we, even though we have remote law firms, we both do a networking group called Provisors where we meet in person once a month. We do lunches. And that's the thing about this world is some things will be online now. Some things will still be in person. I think there's nothing greater than a person-to-person, face-to-face connection. And that's why there's so many different aspects and we have to find the balance. Just like Vanessa was talking about, you have to find the balance in this universe where we are going deep into technology, but you still have to find the face-to-face connections. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Joe. And I think it's pretty amusing because you and I were recently connected from a mutual friend, Laura, who I believe right now is in Germany.
Yep.
And she connected us from Germany. Meanwhile, I did not know that our general counsel and a good friend of mine, as well as a partner of the Tribune, knows you. In fact, I think, Saji, you may have actually told me about Joe now that I'm connecting the dots over a separate matter. But moving on from that, it's just funny how the world works.
There's no coincidences. There's no coincidences.
Yeah, it's funny how the world works. And Percy, to your point, Sharon, what you shared, thank you for giving us some insights with regard to your parents. And, a person does not need to have sight to be a leader. However, a person does need to have vision to be a leader. You see, sight is a physiological phenomena. But vision comes from a place that few of us can even understand. Vision is something that comes from the heart, from the mind, from the soul. Vision is something that you cannot measure, but we know that true leaders have it. And so there's a distinction between sight and vision. And thank you, Percy, for sharing that. I think that was very powerful. And with that being said, Julia, between myself and Michael getting so excited, we keep, interfering with your job here of moderating everything. So I'm going to go back in the green room and have a Coke with Michael. Go ahead, Julie. Michael, don't interrupt her anymore. Go ahead, Julie.
No, the conversation has been absolutely amazing. But there is one person that we haven't heard from yet. And Lynette, I would love for you to share your perspective.
Thanks, because I know we're getting to those last few minutes. So in terms of, I believe the question was around, what can we do as leaders to be prepared in this rapidly changing environment? And for me, I would just say startup mindset. I know it's not one word, but 2 words. But if you look at it from the perspective of when you're starting your business, and you have this blue ocean idea, you're not waiting for a market to show up. So you're out there and you're looking for a way to bring it to the market. And so in your business, if you have a team, and this is where inclusivity comes in, if you have a team with different backgrounds, different perspectives, and it really helps to have people from different cultures like all over the world who have an ear to the ground and they see trends maybe within their community like, oh, this might be the next hot thing. And if you have a team that could be working on always watching like what these trends are coming up hot. This could be your next big thing. So again, I think having that startup mindset and always be looking for a way to, be able to swim in the blue ocean is something that will help leaders to be more successful. And it also applies if you work within a corporation as well. What is a better way to do the work that you're doing to make you like reduce timelines or whatever it is, because you're still always working in a competitive environment. So that's what I wanted to share, and thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad we got that perspective from you. Now, Mo was talking a little bit about this idea of having a vision and being a visionary. And it's leadership on steroids. It's this whole other level of taking it into the blue ocean and swimming with the sharks and being able to be out there and taking the lead. And I'm curious because even when you were doing these things, there's always going to be some little voice that says, oh, who am I? How do I compete? How do I make this happen? All these little voices that pop up. I don't care who you are. I don't care how successful you are. They always come up at some point in time. And Parisa, I'd love for you to share what you tell those voices.
I tell those voices, I actually ask them 3 questions. Is it, am I, and says who?
I love that. Nice and simple. Saji, how about you?
I love that. I wish I could articulate that in that way. But I think, so there's a thing, and Joe could probably relate to this too, that our industry talks about. It's imposter syndrome. Because people come to us for answers, right? But in the end, it's the realization, to answer your question, is I don't hold myself accountable to provide the answer. I'm a guide, right? I'm a shepherd, if you will, in some sense. I provide assurances. And so if that's my center and I'm here as a contributor to provide assurances, then I'm really quite fine. So when those voices come up in my mind, I feel centered. I do meditate, like Joe said too. But I reflect and I align and I say to myself, am I providing assurances to the people that I'm serving? And the answer is yes.
Beautiful. I like this idea of not having all the answers for everything. Take some of the pressure off so you can stay in your zone of genius. I love that. Vanessa, what about you?
Thank you, Julianne. It's an interesting subject because I coach on it a lot. For me, it really is about understanding that when those voices come to me, is it really about me, or am I focusing on me, or am I focusing on the vision, on where I'm going, on who I'm serving, right? Those voices come mostly because of fear. And if we can look past the fear and go, oh, well, despite the fear, I'm going to do this anyway, that is a big way to build resilience against that imposter syndrome. But again, with my speakers too, how speakers get stage fright, as we say in the performance industry where I'm really from. If you can change your focus from what is it I'm feeling to who is it I'm serving and how is it I'm serving, quite often that makes those voices fade away. So shift the focus from what the fear is to how can I help better or more, and do it anyway.
Beautiful. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I've always loved that book. I don't know if you've read that one. It's a good one.
Yes.
Amazing. And it's hard to believe this was a fast hour. I want to invite Ava Manuel to join again and just share some closing words as we wrap up the program. I want to thank all of the panelists, all of the folks in the virtual auditorium, all of the folks that will be watching this on demand on our Roku TV network. Ava Manuel, senior editor of the Los Angeles Tribune newspaper. What are your thoughts on this week's episode? Please close us out. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mo. What an honor. And this is what we're about. We're about thought leadership. We're about elevating leaders. And this is what we do best in the Los Angeles Tribune. So for all our guests who really led the way today and inspired all of our audiences, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mo, back to you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. This has been a presentation of Los Angeles Tribune. The views expressed here do not necessarily reflect that of our organization. Everybody speaks for themselves, and an appearance is not necessarily an endorsement. We'll see you next time. Lots of love. God bless. Thank you.